up, and welcome to Kingdom of Kodiak. I am Kodiak. This is episode 7, and with me today is Lord Kenjin, Paragon Monk. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing very well, thank you.
Thank you for coming today. So I wanted to start off today with just thanking you for being so diligent about answering the questions that were already posted. You did give me a little bit more legwork with having to come up with some new original questions, but if the people want, we will ask those questions again at the end of the video, and the people can let me know that they want that done by simply putting bears in the chat. That being said, Lord Kenjin, let's get started with the bare necessities. So,
Sounds good.
Kenjin, where does that come from?
So, Kenjin comes from let's just say my long orbit in and out of LARP and LARP adjacent things like the SCA. Back when I was in college, started playing with SCA. Actually, I had my first encounter with Amp Guard back in high school. But in college, joined the SCA, had a Japanese persona there named Kenjiro, which seemed like a good fit for me at the time. Did that for a couple of years, then schoolwork takes over, and then there's the great big drought as college and grad school, whatever, and I kind of got out of LARPing for a bunch of years, still had as a hobby. And then rediscovered Amp Guard back in 2015 and came back in, and when they asked me for a name, I thought to myself, how about I resurrect Kenjiro, but as was common, when samurai got, let's just say, forcibly retired by politics, they would take up a name in the monastery. And so thus was born Kenjin, the sword man, which is what it literally translates to. And since I like to make swords, there we go, sword man I am.
That's great. So how long have you been playing? I heard you came back in 2015, but what's the time frame overall for that?
So like I said, I first encountered Amp Guard back when I was in high school, which would have been, let's call it 93 or 94 roughly. Played with a group there. They actually let me play Paladin back then, which was kind of fun. Got to wear somebody's pickle barrel armor. Actually, that was where I made my first couple of swords. I actually managed to find one of them that survived the great garage purge of 2015. Built my first broadsword with a cross PVC handle. It's a big, ugly beast. But had fun doing it that summer. But then I guess lost track of those people because this was the days before the internet, and so finding people was actually a lot harder than it sounded. So going away to school and coming back, really easy to lose track of people. So lost track of the Amp Guard, the LARP group, played with a different group the following summer after I was back from college. I think they were a Nero associated group because they had, again, they were tracking things much more complexly, where you had hit points and armor points and magic points and lots of trying to do math and fight is a lot more complicated. But they actually took a much more role play centric view of things, which I thought was really neat. So then, like I said, grad school was kind of a big dry patch. Started taking up kendo, Japanese fencing, in grad school. That was really cool. And then moved out to Yuma for my job, which is very cool. But again, kind of fell out of LARPing and all that time. And then on a trip to our local Hastings bookstore, happened to see a little flyer that our old monarch, Scott Hawkins, had posted up there, advertising Amp Guard LARP. And I went, ooh, hey, that's cool. Haven't done that in ages. Let's go check that out. And so I kind of walk up onto the field as a older 40-year-old guy or so, easily twice the age of anybody else playing. And after let's call it 8 or so years of kendo and lots of old fighting in college and high school, surprised people a little bit. So That's always kind of fun.
That's awesome. That's great. So you're here for Paragon Monk, but I do have to ask what award you are most proud of receiving.
So I ended up getting both my Paragon Monk and my Lordship on the same day. So the two things blend together really strongly. And more importantly, both things were an absolute surprise. The Lordship actually is the one that probably tickles my heart the most because I got this really awesome calligraphied scroll out of it that actually then went and put in this really nice frame, and it's actually hanging in my bedroom next to my bed. So I think that's my favorite. But I think the two things are pretty closely attached to each other.
That's fantastic. So the same day, that's got to make it really hard to choose, anyways. It's like choosing your favorite kid, right?
Pretty much.
All right. So, Monk, battle game inside of Vanguard. What is your favorite kind or style of battle game?
So I'm a role player at heart. I really prefer or enjoy more like questy battle games or story battle games where we'll have, yes, there's two sides, but there's a reason why they're fighting. So I actually like to, when I'm running battle games, I often do these sort of role play centric asymmetric battle games where one team are their normal class characters and the other team are a bunch of skeletons or zombies or the lich lord that's running them. They're still playing their normal classes. They just happen to be undead versions of those. And we're doing that as, again, kind of a add-on story. And so what I'll do is I'll do a battle game of this that's kind of the lead in, and then followed by subsequent battle games that are kind of building up on that story. And I really enjoy getting more excuses. I'm definitely what they would call a flurb at heart. So I'm a sucker for that.
So when we do that kind of style at our park, and I don't know if this is common across the kingdom or if it's kind of an Amtgard, we get so competitive with the first round of it that the next battle game is the flip to see if the other team can do it quicker, and it just inherently builds that second game right into the park day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done similar sorts of tricks too.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it works very well. I like that. I like the opportunity to, people have personas, they have the name, they have who they are, they have their garb, which represents something. But man, sometimes it's really hard to kind of get an excuse to find out why those people are what they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, any excuse to give people an opportunity to kind of inhabit their personas more is something I really, really like.
Absolutely. So you should be a big fan of this upcoming rain.
I admit, yes, I am. I thought that was really cool. I was listening through the entire discussion, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the opportunities we have there.
That's awesome. Cool. So, all right, we talked about the battle games. We've talked about your time in the game. We've talked about your awards. Is Monk your favorite class?
So it's interesting. So I came in as Monk. Monk was a really good fit, both for how I fight and the fact that, well, I have my kendo armor, which works, but it's synthetic armor, so it's worth just about this side of nothing, no matter how cool it looks. So unarmored monk actually worked well for me, and because I liked making weapons, it gave me an excuse to make lots of weapons. Right. And I've got tetsubos, and I've got spears, and I've got swords, and I've got short swords and daggers, and this and that and the other. So monk actually was a really good fit for that, because then I could play with everything I've got. But actually, if I were to, answer truthfully now, I would say was really enjoying my Kung Fu Monk version of Wizard. So I will play my Wizard as sort of a firebender type guy, doing the whole hand motions as I'm doing castings and whatnot. And I really enjoy that. And actually transitioning over to Wizard from Monk was like, wow, I'm just as fragile, but I can do Hadokens now. So that was pretty cool. So I have to admit, I'm enjoying Wizard. There's a lot more stuff going on with Wizard, just because they've got so much more that they can do.
Yeah.
In terms of their options. So as an intellectual challenge, I have to admit Wizard's a bit more interesting, but I guess I'm one of those folks that I see classes more of it as a, again, role play excuse where, whether I'm Kenjin the Kung Fu monk or Kenjin the sword monk guy are really not too different from each other.
Right. It seems like it would just be a perfect opportunity to be like, I'm using a different part of my persona, but not switching the persona per se.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot. So it's later on, because it's one of the questions I had to ask, but I think it would be a good time right now to ask it. Are you shooting for another Paragon at all? Like, you like Wizard? Is that something you'd be hoping to do?
So what's funny is kind of like with Monk, Paragoning was not. not ever really my intention coming in. It was the I'm doing this, I'm having fun doing this, so I'm going to, really engage with doing this the way that I'm having fun with, and hopefully I'm giving other people reasons to have fun as well. And so, um, if a Paragon Wizard falls in my lap, I'm not going to say no. But on the other hand, it's cool, and then certainly there's a lot more to work towards. I've seen some folks do, Paragon spellcasters before. I went to Crossroads back in November, and there was a Paragon healer who was um, doing a really interesting job of things during the game when he was on our side for once, and really made a difference for how the battle game plays. And I guess that kind of level of class mastery of understanding what to do, how to do it, and how best to support the rest of your team um, is a really interesting challenge, I think.
Yeah, and I know it's not really on topic, but I do want to get this point across. There are some builds for these classes in the game that we play where you're not getting to participate at the level you'd want to. Like something that comes to mind is like a battery bard where
Mm-hmm.
you're just charging an ally the entire time. You may not be doing anything but that, but if you're really good at it, I know that when we visited Sun's Haven for Convergence Day, uh, we had a battle bard and a healer, and it was a shatter game. But
Mm.
because we were able to be resurrected, our shatter number wasn't going down.
Yeah,
So
exactly. There's some things in there where, again, kind of
okay, folks, he may have lost his audio, but that's fine. When he comes back, we'll just ask him to get the answer again.
basically as soon as any of us came back to life, he'd drop an enchantment or two on us, let us go on our way to go save the day. It was kind of cool because it was a Avengers based theme. So this was like the big final battle against trying to get the Infinity Stones and all that stuff for the end of the end of the movie, if you will. And yeah, you know I was only getting a blessing against wounds for it, but since I was flying around being Doctor Strange, um, surviving that one hit was perfect for me. So yeah, I really appreciated what he was doing for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as I just wanted to point that out for the people who are looking for aspiring paragons. Look at people who are maybe they're not the flashiest person on the field, but they're definitely doing their job as far as what they've decided to bring to the field. So, all right. So now we got to get to the generic general questions that we ask every week on Kingdom of Kodiak before we can ask you about Paragon. Morgan asks, Toaster, please. Uh, will you be providing a toaster to Sir Glenelf?
You know what? Why not? When I get a chance to encounter him, I will bring a toaster.
All right, Sir Glenelf, now you have it. Not only were people pointing you in the direction of our Royal Highness Queen Balder for your toaster, but now you're being offered a toaster from a Paragon monk. We're doing great things on Kingdom of Kodiak, folks. All right. Stillhell asks, what are your thoughts on bears?
Bears. Um, we need a picnic basket. I bears are
Well,
big and fuzzy.
well, the
They're
question
also
gets
grizzly and scary, so
the
they
question
kind of
gets
match
asked because three background personas will be in the monarchy that will also be bear. Morgan, Stella, myself all either carry a name, the a logo, a backstory, something of Usarian nature.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, it's
That's pretty neat.
it was. I didn't really notice it until the question got asked, and I was like, oh, that's right.
That's
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So expect a battle game where we're hunting for honey or the capture of the picnic basket.
Zana, are you listening? Convergence Day.
There we
All
go.
jokes. Yeah. So now we're going to get into the Paragon stuff.
Okay.
And this section's really just about Paragon as a whole. But obviously, if you can tie it into your class, that makes the most sense. what have you. Morgan asks, what advice do you have for aspiring monk paragons? Maybe some tips.
So again, because I was surprised by my Paragon, I was told after the fact what I did to get it. So it wasn't a path I was actively trying to pursue for the sake of pursuing it. Um, so what I think, if you are interested in a Paragon, probably what I would recommend that you do is, based on how that class represents your persona, and again, I'm saying this from the hardcore flurb side of things,
Right.
I would look at how that class reflects my persona and lean into that hard. So if you're playing, if I want to be D'Artagnan and I want to be a, fencer type swordsman guy, Monk's a great fit for that for lots of reasons, right? You can block things, you don't have to rely on armor. You can throw knives at people, which is cool in a very Three Musketeers is when you're getting ready to fight with people and so forth. But yeah, lean into the class, and when it gets to again learning the ins and outs of how to play that class better, um, yeah, yeah, find someone who's got some good ideas on that because unlike some, I find some of the monk abilities are a little hard.
Again, ladies and gentlemen,
And not die. Oh,
you're cutting out a little bit on the audio.
okay,
Um,
sorry.
that's all right.
Anyway, so I was talking about sanctuary. So you can do the chant and you can, outside of a couple of extenuating circumstances, not get killed. But at that point, you are limited to trying to find a substitute sword for you to come back and be effective again, or run back to base. So always carry extra weapons, or at least store some extra ones back at base so
Right.
you can come back. But yeah, so some of those ones really require finding a mentor, or at least someone to help you explain how best to make use of that. And also, as monk, you have two abilities that rely on more or less one incantation that happens to be one that pretty much every new amp guard player always stumbles over. Learn the heal and the resurrect incant. You've got a lot of abilities based around those, and it took me a long time to get past the sword cut, spear stab, mumble mumble, something something. Blah. I'm going to sit here and kind of chant and hold my wounded arm, and okay, I pretended I counted to 20, and now I'm good. So yeah, it's good to practice those. It turns out the heal incant works really well for a hand washing chant these days. So
Yeah.
I've it's been actually taking that to heart and using that as my hand washing
Oh, very
routine.
nice. So, not to pry, but after you received the award, you were told what you had done to get to that Paragon status. Was any of that different than what you just give out as tips?
No, pretty much I was told that I got Paragon because I was effectively living the monk. I was inhabiting the monk swordsman persona where, my fighting style is, I guess, I've been told it's pretty unusual, um, largely because it's not sort of the standard ant guard. When you fight flow, it's kind of squared up and whatever. I do the one hand forward, Niten Ryu kind of thing that evolves out of a really long history of bad habits doing sword larps
Yeah.
from 25 years ago, but I've had 25 years to get good at it, I guess.
Yeah.
So that and 10, 15 odd years of kendo on and off. So I've got at least some real chops there, but that again makes my sword style really different, but it fits with the sword monk thing, sort of
Absolutely.
as my persona does it. So yeah, by and large, that was what got me what I was.
Okay. Well, so, The next question was a question that we had uh, 2 weeks ago with Kron because he comes from a small park.
Yes.
Uh, you are also in a small park. Mo is other side of the world for the Kingdom of Dragonspine. Um,
Yes.
how did receiving a Paragon impact your park?
So that's a really interesting question because far as I know, I think I might actually be our only Paragon. So it made the whole Paragon experience a little bit, again, head spinning in a lot of different ways because it didn't sound like I had a Paragon role model to look at and say, ah, that guy's a Paragon, that's what you want to be. Um, it was, uh, again, a surprise. For those that know me from Park, certainly one of the things that I do really pride myself on and try to do is I guess I have too much of a innate uh, I think my alternate universe me is a professor, and so I am perfectly happy to help people teach people.
Oh, it's. I think your audio went out again.
My official title is on or off the field.
Lord Kenjin, I think we lost you from the professor on.
Oh no. Okay,
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, past life as a professor, so teaching and mentoring is, I'm not going to say it's in my DNA, but I'm really hardwired for that.
Sure.
And so I take that trying to be helpful to other people at my park in whatever ways I can, whether it's helping them in ANS crafting, making swords, making whatever, to how to try to be their class better, or what I think might be a way to make this class that isn't one I normally play work better. Um, and again, trying to effectively just help our park be as good as we can, given our situation, that we just, like I said, we're really small and really remote, and so we're almost kind of we're a park as an island. So
Yeah.
outside of when we have folks like yourself who actually make the very long journey out to visit us,
Right.
um, it's a very um, uh, we kind of learn by discovery, let's say.
Sure. Sure. Does that mean that there are? Do you have any apprentices at your park of the Paragon monk lifestyle, or?
So I wouldn't be unwilling to take them, but yeah, as of right now, I don't believe we have anyone actually actively playing monk. Most of like I said, unfortunately, due to circumstance about the last year or so, our numbers have cratered pretty badly.
Mhm.
So because we had just made Barony a year and change ago, and where we were actually managing 15 to 20 on a regular basis, we're kind of lucky to break 10 these days on a really really good day. And so most of the time we are getting, like, we hardly ever double up on classes. So it's like I said, happily given advice on fighting, combat, or otherwise to people. So whether it's officially apprenticing someone to be a better monk or just be a better amp guarder, period, that I like to think I'm still doing.
Well, I mean, hopefully, once the pandemic's over, we can get the numbers turned up all across the kingdom. Um,
Absolutely.
I do want to share a story real quick. I mentioned this offline with you about my first uh, adventures in Yuma. I went down on a 24-hour turnaround with 7 other guys in a van who just wanted to go down and fight for 4 hours, eat some food, and then come back. So 16 hours of driving. You guys do the rest of the math there. But we showed up, and Lord Kenjin actually was the first one to allow me to use the bow to play a archer for the first time ever. So fond memories of my first ever time drawing a bow in Amtgard
That's
because it was
cool.
in Yuma. Yeah, thank you so much for
That
that.
is awesome.
Yeah. All right. So we're past Paragon now. Now we're going to talk a little bit about your class. What class do you think Monk synergizes with the best? Yeah, your audio is gone. Still gone. It's the part of the lag. It's a thing. We'll have it.
But now, oh,
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
okay. Sorry, I came back. Sorry, technical difficulties. Internet's wonky somewhere between here and there.
Yep.
Um, what I was trying to say and make the funny at the same time
Yeah.
was anybody who can make a monk less fragile. That's probably has always been the biggest challenge to playing monk is you basically get exactly one shot. If you're lucky, you don't die, and you can use heal on yourself if you can remember the incant. Um, but yeah, that's a real challenge. So um, while you're really good at hunting spellcasters and all that with your all of your immunities and ability to block spell balls and all that stuff, um, you still are a glass cannon. And so anybody who can give you anything to make you less vulnerable, like I said, the first time I got to play monk and someone dropped a blessing against wounds on me, I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. I
Right.
can actually give up a hit and win the fight, and I'm not half dead. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything that gives you, you know, so anybody with an enchantment capability, so healers because they get blessing against wounds. Obviously, if you can find a friendly druid who's able to throw golem or flame blade or any of those really cool enchants on you, they're also pretty nice. But yeah, I think first and foremost is anyone who can make you less prone to death.
Right. So it's just interesting that you said glass cannon, because when I think of glass cannon, I think of the caster side of it. But you are right. I mean, as far as a monk goes, you're set unless you're doing additional or other things. You're a one shot guy. You got to be very good with your weapons, and you got to make good friends with the druid.
That's right. Very much make good friends with the druid. Yeah, I mean, so it's an interesting thing. The fragility of a monk does sort of teach you to be much more careful and better in combat because yeah, your ability to stay alive is really dependent strongly on your ability to not die. So if you get good at blocking and defending yourself, not dying is good.
Yeah.
So you just don't have the benefit of any of the other martial classes who can, rely on even just 1 point of extra armor is a huge difference.
Yeah, you just don't want to see the high end monk like you or Xander from Dragon's Spine Lost Crucis with a point of protection, blessing or cure or whatever, and then also be very good at defending yourself. Because it's like, well, I'm gonna go do something else because
Anybody but that guy. And
yeah, anyone but him.
Because you don't have armor, it does actually mean you can be much more nimble on the field.
Yeah.
Granted, I have the agility of someone north of 40, but I still am not over 40 with 40 pounds of armor. So I guess there's that.
Right. I love it. All right. So we've talked about your synergy. We've talked about keeping you alive. What is the class that gives you the most trouble?
So, to be honest, I would actually say it's anybody with a shield. Okay. Because monks don't get shields. And part of the conversation, I think, on one of the other ones is what's the best weapon combo for a monk? I find I stand a much better chance if I fight someone with a shield with 2 weapons, because then you can block and then counter and try to get around his shield
Right.
in a much easier way than you can with a single weapon. But the downside is if you're going Florentine, you're giving up a lot of your other possibilities as a monk. The ability to have throwies at your beck and call and to take an opportunity shot whenever it shows up is really important. So while Florentine makes you good against shields, it can be a bit of a challenge. So yeah, like I said, don't really have to worry about other classes when the
Your audio again. Right at other classes, your audio cut. Just give us a second, it'll catch up again. Not a problem. Nope, not yet. It's fine. Nope, not yet. We're still down.
Okay, how about
There it
now?
is. Right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, I was saying, so a bard with agoraphobia can make you go sit in the corner, but you're a monk, you're immune to verbals, so you can ignore that. But yeah, a warrior in full armor and a shield is not who I want to go deal with as a monk. I have to be 7 times better than him to survive that fight.
Wow. Yeah,
I
that's
have
hard
to
to think
chip
of.
through all 6 points of armor and get that lucky kill shot and somehow miraculously not die.
Yeah.
So yeah, guy in armor with a shield, not who I want to fight as a monk.
So it's interesting because you did mention warrior right at the end there, but up until then it was anyone with a shield, and then you mentioned anyone with armor. So any class that can do shield and armor is your primary enemy, your big issue. But I mean, you did at the end mention warrior there, so it's interesting because there's a lot of classes that can get a little bit of armor and carry a shield that can that could be the counter to Lord Kenjin's monk. Just for anyone who's paying attention to this, as a heads up. Uh-oh. Okay. You're muted in the corner.
How about now?
Yep, you're
Good.
good. Yep.
Cool.
I was just giving the audience a little bit of insight that you did mention warrior, but realistically, you were just saying shield and armor was the combo that was, which is can be problematic. So the next question is what is your typical monk loadout? Oh, are we?
So I'm back. I got you now, but I missed the end of that. Something about warrior, but I hopefully my bit about dealing with a guy with 6 points of armor and a shield.
Yeah.
Very bad day for the monk.
Yeah, just the idea that any person that wanted to go up against Lord Kenjin and have success, wear armor and bring a shield.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, right. So, and
then I can just worry about outrunning you.
Right. I was just interested in the idea that when we're talking about like what class gives you the most problem, and it wasn't so much a class, it was a loadout style that was the problem. And that led to the next question, which is what is your loadout?
So when I play, what has probably been my favorite loadout is single long and at least 3 throwies. More is better, but I find the ability, the additional threat ability of having a thrown weapon, particularly a thrown weapon that can get you some range. So if you've got chakrams or a nicely weighted heavy thrown that you can actually reach out to 20 or 30 feet is plenty, because you can, brandish the throw in your offhand and suddenly the other guy decides he doesn't want to mess with you anymore. So that's handy. If you're fighting Florentine, you don't really have that choice, because then you're having to do this kind of awkward carry a sword under your arm and throw with your offhand to reset back, and that effectively takes your good hand out of play as well, because you're holding a sword under it. If you've got a scabbard or a sword frog or something you can get a sword in and out of pretty quickly, then your choices are a bit better. But it's having a sword scabbard that actually is quick enough to do a fast swap is something I have yet to find. Bought one recently, haven't had a chance to try it out yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so the thrown are good. I actually also really like pole arms and throwies, especially if you can get a great weapon, because at least the one advantage is, so monk with a great weapon and throwies means you can now deal with the guy with a shield. So, and whether or not he can take you in a fight, the fact that you can break his shield usually makes a lot of shield carriers a little more careful when they go to engage you.
Right.
Which is kind of an interesting thing. So there's a lot more psychology involved in the game. But yeah, throwies are huge and are really. I don't think I actually got it for the benefit of the heavy thrown until much later, because yeah, having some good heavy thrown makes a huge difference.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I consider playing monk. I haven't a lot, but having opportunity to play throwies seems like just a lot of fun. So
shot placement matters, because you don't have that much again, you're needing to maximize every single opportunity you have.
Mhm.
So if you can get a shield slot or something like that, extra leverage, extra control, all plays into being able to take advantage of that when you get the chance. So that's kind of why I lean a lot towards either hand and a halves or great weapons or polearms, anything that gives you just that little bit of extra control.
Okay. So, in your opinion, obviously your opinion, what abilities for monk are overpowered and underpowered? Oh, your volume's gone again. Yeah, that's fine. Just give us a little bit of time with the leg. Anything?
Ah, I got you now. Can you hear
There we
me?
go. There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
So is monk abilities thing one and thing two?
Overpowered and underpowered. And your audio's gone again. Oh, the technical issues of live streaming with Kingdom of Kodiak, folks. Don't worry, we'll get there. Yeah, he's walking. I can hear something in the background.
Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. I wish I knew sign language. Okay, so something about monk abilities.
Yes. Overpowered monk abilities, underpowered monk abilities.
So, um, Enlightened Soul is really freaking potent. Is it overpowered? I'm not sure because that's I'd probably say the better half at least, or 70% of the monk's shtick, right? The fact that, unlike all the other classes, verbals don't bother you. And you only have to worry about spell balls. Oh, but look, at Max Monk, you can now deal with spell balls. So I think, Enlightened Mind's probably the most important. If you pull that out, monks actually start having a lot more problems because now they, vulnerable spell ball or vulnerable to verbals, um, don't get armor, don't get shields, all those other things. So I think in the end it balances out. But yeah, it's pretty critical. The couple of times you ever tried games where you could cherry pick abilities from the different classes, everybody took Enlightened Soul.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
So if nothing else, that tells you right there that it's pretty serious business. So
what
for
about underpowered?
underpowered abilities, boy, um, again, this is probably where I really fall short in my Paragon Foo is I find myself scratching my head a lot and trying to figure out how to make something useful out of Sanctuary.
Okay.
Again, it's kind of cool. And it probably has its use yet. I've just not yet had my aha moment where I drop Sanctuary and suddenly I am super awesome. Um, Interestingly, I had the reverse counter where I had a monk in front of me doing Sanctuary and I happened to have Phase Bolt handy as a wizard and I tossed it at him and killed him and said, haha, got you. So that was kind of a eureka moment for that. I was like, wow, that's kind of a cool edge case. But yeah, so the healing and resurrection abilities again are really cool, but they are I'm going to say they're a little bit of an edge case because heal is only useful if you don't die. And as we said before, monks are really at high risk of death.
Yeah.
And so resurrect again is also kind of handy, and I have to admit, it's something I forget that I can do all the time. And the fact of the matter is, you can now look at other people on your team besides Yon Healer to bring people back to life. I think is something I need to actually pay attention to next time I play monk.
Fantastic.
So,
all right. So we've went through Paragon and we went through the class stuff. We did get some bears in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and move over back to the Facebook on your post to all your answered questions. Ask them to you live and see what your answers are now. So the first question is from Solskar, and it's why are all your swords so badass looking? You did post a picture after that, but what would be that? Why? How do? Oh, no, no. Okay. Well, folks. Unfortunately, Kenjin is gone at this point. Dropped off from the material world. I will stall for a couple minutes in hopes that he returns. But if he's unable to return, we did get through all the questions that were asked that weren't already answered. And if you did want those ones, if you wanted the answers to the questions that you asked on his page, he did thoroughly went through and answered all the questions. All right. Hey, just remember that you're muted in the corner, Kenjin. There we
Yep.
go.
How about now? Good?
All right. Yep.
Cool.
All right. Did you hear any of my attempt to get you to the Facebook questions?
No, I did not.
Okay.
So I guess we're going to that.
Yeah. So we went through all your Paragon, went through your Monk as far as questions I had that you hadn't already answered. So now we're going to go to the questions you have answered to get your live answers to them. Because we did get some bears in the chat.
Ah, cool.
All right. So why are all your swords so badass looking?
So I really like making weapons. It's fun. I enjoy it. I think they look cool, and actually try really hard to make them fight well too. So, I spend a lot of time trying to make them, really well balanced, make them feel good to fight with and feel natural. And again, Flirbit Heart, it's kind of cool to have nice looking kit. Yeah. So I really like that, and I'm happy to teach folks. So,
willing to teach people how to make them. Are you a merchant?
I am not. I've had folks ask to buy my gear before. I've considered taking formal commissions. It's one of those imposter syndrome sort of things where people want to buy my stuff. No, that can't be right. But yeah, so I guess at this point, I guess I have indirectly sold something, because I actually put something into the Kingdom auction last go around. So I had one of my flat blades and end up in that. So, but it's something I guess I've started to consider a little more thoroughly. So I guess if you're interested, maybe we can talk and I'll see.
If that ever becomes a hard yes, absolutely let me know, and I will announce it on Kingdom of Kodiak for you.
Okay.
Those are beautiful weapons. Anyone that needs to go to the Facebook page on the Kingdom page on Facebook, and the first question from Soulscar has a picture of some of the weapons that Lord Kenjin has made. Just amazing pieces of work. They look great. Did not hear your response there. I'm going to assume you're giving me a whole bunch of praise. No? You're still down at this point? There we go. Okay. So going off of that question, Sakri asks, what weapon are you most proud of? I want to preface this now, though, because last time you answered this, you said the last one you made.
So, and it was a yes, but. So it turns out the more I started thinking about it, the thing I've enjoyed most in making swords is actually the handful of times I've actually made swords for other people. So one of probably the one I'm most proud of, because of everything associated with it, was 2 years ago.
We lost you again, Kenjin.
Had never seen, anyone from Dragon's Spine proper actually make
Lord Kenjin, we lost you again.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. I heard 2 years ago, and that was the last thing I heard.
Okay. So 2 years ago, His Royal Highness Baihu came out and visited us at Mo. And when he became king, he'd made an offhand comment about liking katanas. And I had just made one that actually is old enough, it's been retired at this point. And I thought, I will make him a katana, because he both likes them, he has a persona that's kind of similar to mine, and hey, he's the king. Maybe I'll make myself a royal sword. and give it to him as a gift. And so I kind of had to do some sort of not really back channel, because I actually had to ask him straight up, hey, how big a sword, if you wanted a sword, how big would you want it to be? And so I ended up making him a regular short, but kind of customized it roughly to some of his needs as far as lengthwise. But then I doctored it up to have Moe's colors on it. So it had gold fixtures in Plastidip, and then maroon on the handle wrap. And we had a small ceremony where I offered it to him as the king, as a offering from his vassal state here on the frontier. And managed to, one of our players was clever enough to whip out his camera just in time to get a picture of me offering it to Baihu. And so I think that's actually the one I'm proudest of. And it still tickles me when he posts a picture of him every once in a while with his bag of swords over his shoulder, and I go, "Hey, I see my sword back there," and that's really cool.
Yeah.
So between then and now, I can look at the sword I made for him then, and I look at what I've made now. It's like, man, that's actually, I'm not going to say I'm embarrassed, but I make much better stuff now.
That's awesome.
So my newer swords, I do like my newer swords too, but again, they'll kind of have stories to them, and
Right.
why they are and how they came to be. So
That's fantastic. Yeah. All right. So Zachary then asks, how do you practice blocking missiles and magic balls?
So this is a fun one, and again, small park. Sometimes when we take a break, you got to find something to kill time doing.
Mm-hmm.
And after I'd gotten my bow and arrow, as I was explaining to you earlier offline, I don't play archer. I didn't play assassin at the time, but happened to find a bow on sale cheap one day around the holidays. Bought one and said, "Hey, at the very least, I have a bow. I'll make some arrows, and then so if anyone at park wants to borrow my kit to play archer, cool, we can do that." So I've always had it available, and realized that for people who've never played archer before, learning to shoot at people is kind of not the most trivial thing. And I thought, aha, I have an idea. We will take their practice shooting at actual people and combine that with a monk needing to practice not being shot. So I would stand in front of them about 20, 30 feet, have them shoot at me, and I would practice trying to do a passive block. And the tricky part is, in Amtgard, we're not allowed to do an active block where I strike at the shaft of the arrow as it comes at me. I have to put my sword up in front. And learning how to do that safely so you're not deflecting in other people and others is a little side piece, but just learning how to stick your sword in the right place when it's coming at you at significant speed is a skill of its own.
Right.
And for a while, I was actually getting really good at it. I think the most recent time we played this, I think I was blocking 9 out of every 10 arrows.
Oh, wow.
Granted, out of my kind of weak sauce bow, but it's still blocking 9 out of 10 arrows. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, granted, the guy who was shooting at me, his accuracy probably wasn't all that hot anyway, so I was getting 9 out of 10 that were actually going to hit me. But still, I think that's a really good drill for any parks out there that have aspiring archers and aspiring monks. It's a really great synergy between the two of you, because it gives both of you a really good opportunity to exercise kind of critical class abilities.
Sure.
And for someone who's just done target archery, shooting at a person who's a moving target, and maybe you want to try to snipe his shoulder instead of his torso, again, it gives you some excuses to try that. And repetition is really key in all the things that we're trying to do to maintain skill. And so trying to learn arrow blocking just on the battlefield is probably not going to work well for you. But if you stand in front of a guy and let him shoot 30, 40 times at you, you'll suddenly start learning what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, right. Zachary, so start coming back down to Park and Cruces, and we'll get Redbeard or Sir Francis, and we'll just shoot arrows at you and let you block them.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm sure they'll have a blast with it.
Yes, well, you can at least be a little bit kind as the archer when you're kind of teaching him to do it. But yeah, it's actually a fun drill. I actually enjoy doing that when we've done it. So
cool. So we've already talked about loadouts a little bit, but Zachary again wants to know a little bit about the strategy to use a monk. What's your favorite one when it comes to using a monk?
So yeah, as I was mentioning before, I find that the heavy thrown is really effective, both in terms of the fact it extends your threat area and it lets you kill people without risking yourself getting killed. So if you can sneak up on, the wizard, the bard, or someone who's not paying attention to you that doesn't have armor, and you can get a chest shot with your throwy, cool. You have now, done a significant part of your job killing somebody, and you didn't have to get close. So I think heavy thrown is a really big part of that loadout. So whatever you do, get some good weighted, good throwing, heavy thrown, learn how to use them well. And like I said, they have a lot of benefit on the field. The hard part is using heavy thrown. You're making a trade-off on what other weapons you can, because I've not found a really good way to juggle Florentine and thrown. So so yeah, my preferred loadout usually tends to be a hand and a half weapon, so a long, that's well balanced. Again, ideally having a weapon that you can use in your good hand or your bad hand, because again, if you're relying heavily on your heavy thrown, you might be throwing with your right hand or your left hand, whichever you have the opportunity with. So being able to stay effective with your weapon, with your melee weapon, I think is going to be important. So I find that longs, of course, have better reach than shorts. So again, having a little bit extra reach is always a good thing. Getting to know your reach is another really, really important skill. So if you understand your reach and speed better than the other guy, that gives you a really big leg up on things. And that's something I pulled over from my kendo experience. But then pole arms are pretty effective. Again, you get all the benefit of, you get the reach, you get gobs of reach. Right. You get, if you go for a heavy padded blade, you get now shield crushing armor breaking. Again, very useful if you're worried about that warrior with 6 points of armor and a shield. As long as he's not hardening his shield, you've got some good opportunity there. You only now have to hit him 4 times instead of 7. Right. So that's an improvement. And if you've got more reach than him, maybe you can just backpedal and keep stabbing. But right. But pole arms are really handy. Downside with a pole arm, it's really tough to use a pole arm one-armed. So if you've already used up your heal, or like me, you've forgotten that you have heal, which I've done more than a few times, or can't remember the incant, pole arms can be a real detriment, because trying to use a big oversized pole arm in your offhand, you can do a lot of those cool tricks where you're using your hip for leverage, but you're really in a degraded combat state. So one, remember your heals. But
I would say my suggestion, and this is just a lowly druid speaking here, but always carry a dagger.
Oh, true. So if you're a monk, always carry, if you've got a means of carrying at least one extra weapon, yeah, a dagger is great because they don't get in your way. One of my dreams, if I can ever get the rigging set up, is I want to be the weapon mastered monk, where I've got 2 swords at my belt, a pole arms, a big sword at the back, a couple of daggers, some throws here, just so, you're gonna heat weapon me? Fine, I've got this one. Oh, heat weapon that, fine. How about this one? And just keep going until they run out of heat weapons.
Right. No, it would be amazing to be charging someone and just drop the one and pull another one, and then drop that one and pull another. They'd be like, why? It would be so awesome.
Why are you carrying so many? Yeah, it would be really awesome to pull that off.
Right. All right. So what would you like to see the monk buffed or changed in the future? Oh, we lost your audio.
Weapons get in your way.
Lord Kenjin, we lost your audio again. We went down. We went down just after we talked about weapons.
2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay. So, and I lost you again.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, back.
Okay. So we lost you right after we were talking about the dropping of many weapons and stuff, and then you were good to go.
Right. So what I was trying to say is, carrying an extra weapon so you can compensate for a heat weapon. Carrying lots of weapons would be really awesome, but they also tend to start getting in your own way. where having even a short sword at your hip, if you're using a pole arm, you're gonna probably you're gonna get tangled on your own weapon somewhere. So sadly, but it still would look cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So Adeo Zana asks, what would you like to see buffed or changed in the future for Monk?
So after playing Wizard, the thing that has really tickled my brain is, so when you get to level 6 Wizard, suddenly you now have these specialization spell slots you can pick. So you can go Evoker Wizard, or what is the other one? Battle Mage, or any of those other cool Wizard slots that have these really huge shifts in how Wizard plays. You take Battle Mage, and suddenly you can ambulant the heck out of everything, but you can't do spell balls anymore. Which for me, I rely really heavily on spell balls. That's a trade-off. I haven't been able to cross that bridge yet, but I can see the opportunity. I think that would be really cool. So monks are kind of they're pretty one-trick pony all the way through. It's someone's asking, what's your best battle strategy? Hit them and then hit them again. And it more or less stays that way. It's I can hit them again and then
All right. I think we lost him again. We only had a couple more questions left here, guys.
Resurrection at 5, again, kind of cool. But spellball block's cool. So.
All right. So there are only a couple questions left, Lord Kenjin. Oh.
And have gotten to block a bunch of spell balls, you've kind of done it.
Right. All right. So I do understand that we do have some questions left, but we're getting a lot of lag, and I don't want to create a scenario where we have to keep giving a lot of dead air.
Okay.
You do have these answered up on the page for anyone that was interested in looking at them.
Yes.
And I do appreciate that. As a closing statement from you, is there anything you'd like to say to the people of Dragonspine, or maybe the game overall?
So also getting to meet other people from way the heck away, like yourself. High five. And that's
I lost you again. That's why I was. Yeah, your entire. As soon as I asked you what your closing statement was, you disappeared.
The tech goblins hate me.
Oh yeah, we're just not having a good run at this today.
No. So I was going to say is right now, I think, given the current state of the game, I really like that we've been doing so much to kind of keep the home fires burning. The Discord chats have been awesome. The opportunity to get to through the Discord chats, actually get to interact and talk to other people, even though I still can't match voices to names to save my life. Right. It's at least interacting with people. So if someone ever says, "Oh, you're Kenjin, you're that guy I heard about," through the chat or whatever, right. Now they've at least seen what I look like, and might be able to pick me out of a lineup at the next event I go to, which would be cool. But yeah, so looking forward to that. And I'll have to tell you, I'm looking forward to getting a chance to play again. I had a really vivid dream about going to an event on Monday, so it would be cool. And my daughter would like to say hi. This is my daughter. She plays periodically.
Hello.
So, hello.
I like role-playing parts of things, not so much actually moving my body.
She's even harder on the flurb action than I am.
Well, there you go. That's I'm hoping for the flurb to be the big thing this train, especially since we don't know if we're going to be able to get out and about as much.
Yeah.
So, getting a lot of backstory and role playing, it'll benefit us all together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, with that being said, and with the technical difficulties aside, Lord Kenjin, thank you so much for coming with us. I appreciate your efforts of sticking with me through the technical difficulties and getting the questions answered.
No problem.
You're an amazing person. I do appreciate you overall. hopefully you and I will find some chats off of this and continue building on what I think is a fantastic foundation of a friendship.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah,
that'd be cool, and doing it without lag.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Right? For the people of Dragonspine and anyone listening, as a reminder, next week on Kingdom of Kodiak, we have a nightly chat along with a Paragon Archer, Lord Alucard, Sir Alucard Draconis. So we're going to have a nightly chat while also talking about Paragon. So it's probably going to run a little bit longer, have more questions, and more variety. Additionally, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend should be our online coronation, if I remember correctly. So we should be switching over. And then the week after that, Kingdom of Kodiak will have a crown, maybe.
Very cool.
Yeah. But with that being said, I am Kodiak, and you've been watching Kingdom of Kodiak. I want to thank everyone who stuck with us through the technical difficulties, even though you guys put some stuff up in chat. Lord Kenjin, if you want to, feel free to address those at your will.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for everyone putting up with the technical difficulties, and feel free to hit me up with other questions, ask stuff. I love talking Amp stuff. So
fantastic.
Look forward to meeting all of you someday.
Yeah. All right, guys. Everyone have a good night. And thank you.